1, 2, check 1.
I type in a message and I just didn't like that like that. Well, so we did more than tell me I don't know why he didn't do that.
Yeah, he was, past me there.
You really like yourself, boy?
I can't wait. And then was that?
Mic check there, look at the check the mic. 1, 2, 3. Do you have a reporter? Only because it's you, eh? Only because it's you.
You're holding it because it's you?
Yeah.
Alright, well hold it.
Don't really like you.
To you. We are here this morning in the nation's capital, Port of Spain, to continue our campaign, our flyer distribution for Friday's event. And Friday's event, I want to remind all, it is a day of rest and reflection. A day to rest and reflect on the poor governance that we have had since this government came into office in September 7th of 2015. A day of rest and reflection on the high levels of crime and criminal activity, all of which the government has thus far been very incompetent in dealing with. And so all of the commitment that they were giving prior to their getting in office, they have failed to live up to that commitment. And so the issue of locking down our borders, that has not been undertaken. And as a result of that, we have guns and ammunitions of the most sophisticated nature entering our borders and finding its way in the hands of the criminal element in Trinidad and Tobago. That has resulted in thousands of persons, individuals, human beings, butchered, murdered since this government came into office. I want to say categorically, while they would have condemned the last government, they have failed on the issue of crime. It is clear, beyond any shadow of a doubt. And so they continue to fail on the economy. The economy is contracting as a result of the poor policy directions coming from the government. And as the economy contracts, it is poor and ordinary people, workers, who are being made to feel the brunt of that sacrifice, while the 1% and the government and their ministers, the elitists in this society, continue to enjoy the best. We are carrying the burden on our shoulders, and it is clear that the government, uncaring as they are, they do not care about the small man in the society. All they want the small man to do is to vote for them, put his hand up when they tell him to say yes, and then the rest is history for the small man. Another thing they have failed on is the issue of labor. Well, indeed, they have failed miserably in terms of labor. While they are saying one thing, they are disregarding and disrespecting the labor movement in Trinidad and Tobago. As a matter of fact, when we measure the short time that they are in office And the levels of disrespect meted out to us in the trade union movement, and it's not just one union, the entire trade union movement. They make agreements, they break it, they do not honor it, they say things and give commitments, they do not honor it. And then they find themselves in opposite positions to that which they would have taken. And all of those things are impacting adversely on workers, their collective agreements, and so on. We are into 2 and 3 periods of collective agreement. Not a word from this government as to engaging the recognized majority union into how is the government going to discharge that huge debt to workers. You see, while prices continue to go up, while the cost of living continue to be an issue for workers, workers continue to work. The government continue to get their pay. They have an easy way out, and there's no discussion about what is owed to the workers. And so the health is a problem. We still have major issues in the nation's hospital with respect to finding a bed. You go to the hospital this morning, and not until tomorrow morning, if you are lucky, you will be admitted on a bed or on a ward and afforded a bed. And worse than that, even if you are that lucky, you will not be able to receive critical medications and so on, life-saving medications and surgeries and all of those things. And it is only because of spite and political wickedness that the Couva Hospital has not been open so far. They are entering their 3rd year in office. People are suffering in this country, and they refuse to open the hospital, staff it, and which would have provided an additional relief for poor citizens in this country. Education is another issue, and all of the excuse they're making about earthquake with the schools that cannot open, those schools could not have opened, earthquake or not, and it's only excuse after excuse. And when the teachers raise issues about the poor state of the nation's schools, the poor state of important material for educating our nation's youth, they have a problem with that. And so it is on the basis of all of those things. And I want to say this morning to you members of the media and to the public through you, that the Petrotrin issue was not placed on the cards when we raised the issue of rest and reflection. It was on Labor Day we declared that September the 7th this year, on the 3rd anniversary of the PNM's in government in Trinidad and Tobago, the Trinidad and Tobago must send a message to them that they are performing badly, and that is resulting in hardship on the country. And so as we get closer to September the 7th, the Petrotrin issue come up. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because they want the country to believe this is about the Petrotrin issue. It's not about the Petrotrin issue alone. It is about poor governance across the board by Dr. Rowley and his government. Let's get that clear, and let us understand that they are not serving the people at all. Theirs is another interest. And so what they are attempting to do is what we describe in the trade union movement as Trumpism. You know what is Trumpism? Trumpism, if you pay attention to Donald Trump, they will tell a lie over and over and over again with the hope that those who are without the information, that they will believe it. And if you do not fact check what they are saying, you will be duped into believing the misinformation that they are spewing. And I want you to recall Emailgate, when the same Dr. Rowley asked this country to march. To date, you're in government, not one word. You are now have access to all of the information. Not one word on Emailgate. Emailgate was a route to take the country in a particular direction. I'm saying that to say this, that we cannot trust Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. If you have a prime minister like the president of the United States of America, the people there cannot trust him. We cannot trust this prime minister. Is misinformation after misinformation, and purposeful misinformation, willful misinformation is described as lies. So the prime minister continues to tell lies to the nation. And why do I say that? I say that in the face of all of the declarations that he would have made last night. And from time to time, his own declarations contradict one another. His own ministers who spoke before him, the information, the figures don't add up. And it is not just that figures don't add up, that the fact that they would have made a decision on the premise of false information, that's one thing. But that particular decision carries huge consequences for Trinidad and Tobago. And all of you in the public who believe today you want to support the PNM and Dr. Rowley with that misinformation and lies, sad will be your portion as the days and weeks roll on if he's allowed to get away with that. We have decided, after having a mass membership meeting attended by over some 1,000 workers yesterday, the Petrotrin workers and other members of the OWTU, and we have communicated this to the National Trade Union Center and to the Federation of Independent Trade Unions this morning, that the OWTU has taken a decision, which decision is supported by our brothers across the union in this country, across the entire labor movement. We have taken the decision because the government refused to halt the shutting down of the refinery and the shutting down of Petrotrin, and because we have had an April 3rd, 2018 agreement to implement the restructuring with the unions being involved, and because we are being denied that, the decision that we took yesterday is that we are going to deliver our proposal on Monday coming to the leader of the opposition of Trinidad and Tobago, to the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and to members of the Independent Senate. All of the independent senators, the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and the opposition leader of Trinidad and Tobago will be given a copy of our proposal. And so we have also decided that we are going to press for a national debate on this issue. This issue is too critical to be left up to Dr. Rowley and his government alone. It's too critical. And I need to remind all that when he was literally begging for the job to be the Prime Minister of this country, professing that he would do better than those who he was attempting to replace at that time, he did not say for 1 minute that he would be sending you away from your jobs. And therefore, he was saying that join with him to face all of the challenges, and he knew that there were challenges. As a matter of fact, Dr. Rowley was in the government, the PNM government, when this whole debacle in Petrotrin started years ago. When Malcolm Jones and the whole fiasco with the WGTL, Dr. Rowley was in the government. They were part of the decision to take us through the journey to where we are today. And to profess that you have clean hands and to extricate yourselves from that is another lie you are perpetrating on the country. And therefore it cannot be that you ask me for the job to govern. Having received the job to govern on September 7, 2015 by the population, you are now telling the population that they must give up their jobs for you to keep your job. Something has to be wrong with that. And we are prepared. We are prepared, ready, willing, and able to take this campaign post-September 7th to every single corner of this country, educating the population that today is without the information, that because of that lack of information, they are advantaging the population. We are prepared to bring the information, the correct information, to the population. So let me announce again, on Monday, we are going to hand deliver to the leader of the opposition, OWTU's proposal for the restructuring of Petrotrin, which proposal will convert Petrotrin into a viable entity, a viable, profitable state enterprise. We are going to deliver that same proposal to the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and also to the independent senators, all of whom carries a national responsibility to ensure that we get good governance in Trinidad and Tobago. Today, we are not getting good governance in this country at all. And therefore, it is our profound position that since we are not getting good governance, and since those who are prepared to silence the dissenting voice, when you attempt to cut down dissenting voice, that is called dictatorship. It is nothing short of dictatorship. If you disagree, and remember, one Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, one Patrick Manning, God rest his soul, warned the country about that. The minute you disagree with what he is saying, he becomes angry. But we have come to realize that he not only becomes angry, he becomes distrustful and untruthful. Yes. and peddle misinformation. And therefore, we are strong in our resolve. This morning, we will continue our campaign, alerting the burgesses of Port of Spain what we are about and calling on them to join with us on Friday to rest and reflect. Rest and reflect on the poor governance that you are getting in Trinidad and Tobago today. Rest and reflect because we are entitled to say, to have a say, and to tell the government that they are wrong. Rest and reflect because our people are dying every day because of the high levels of crime and criminal activity. Rest and reflect because of the type of misinformation that they are spewing to the national community. And so when all of that is done, and we would have sent a signal that is one installment in a number of installments in our campaign to resist all of that bad governance by an most uncaring government led by Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. Thank you very much.
The proposal that you are giving them on Monday, has the government already have a copy of that proposal?
What is that?
The proposal that you are giving to the opposition, has the government already have a proposal?
A proposal in their hands. And so we are not just the leader of the opposition, we are giving it to the independent senators and to the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. May I remind you that it was the same approach that we took in 2013 when we would have delivered to the independent senators, to the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and also to the leader of the opposition at that time, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, a comprehensive package on what? On the state of the Petroleum Company of Trinidad and Tobago and the call for its restructuring. That is what the union did back in 2013. So I need to remind everybody, ahead of all the naysayers, that it is the same approach that we are taking now, because it is even worse that is being done to our country by this Prime Minister.
How would you respond to those who are saying that the OWTU, who are not concerned about the economy of Petrotrin, but are concerned about the union dues, they will be losing with the closure of Petrotrin?
But that's the last thing, because if we are offered a whole refinery to operate and to make money, well then that's the last thing that we should think about. We would have grabbed that offer. It is not about making money. It is about operating the people's asset efficiently, profitable, in the interest of all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. That is what that is about.
And comment, as I mentioned, not accepting the offer to run the refinery. Why?
What?
Why did you not take the offer to run the refinery?
Well, you see, and I'm glad you asked that question again. And let me clear that up in the minds of those who still are unclear. That Dr. Rowley knew that the union does not have billions and billions of dollars to purchase the refinery. That's to start with. And that his intention, this is why we are saying that he is spreading misinformation, his intention is to do what? To sell the refinery. And because he wants to sell the refinery, he offers us and know that we wouldn't buy it. And that is why that is so. Yeah?
Mr. Roger, what about the Prime Minister's comment last night that there's no buyer for the refinery? There's absolutely
We can't trust them. We just can't trust them. We just can't trust them. We just can't trust them. Just can't trust them.
How would you sum up his meeting last night?
Oh, he peddles a lot of misinformation and his numbers don't add up. And if those numbers that he would have taken to formulate that decision, that major decision, which decision will plunge the country into chaos, well then we feel that it calls for a national debate and total exposure of that issue.
Mr. Espinay said that in the report there was no decision to shut down the refinery.
In what?
Mr. Espinay,
Yes.
chairman of Petrotrin, indicated in the Guardian, in a Guardian article that there was no decision to shut down the refinery. That was never in the report. I don't think you saw the article.
Well, which report? And where did they get that from? You see, everything now is contradicting. Where did that come from? And that is why we are calling for the recommendation from the particular consultant that recommended that we should shut down the refinery.
Are you all going tomorrow to meet the Prime Minister, Mr. Rowley? Are you all going to meet Mr. Rowley tomorrow?
Oh yes, we had requested a meeting with Dr. Rowley. Yes, we had requested a meeting with Dr. Rowley, and we are going to put those same positions to him.
Your members will
Remember, we have a memoranda of agreement, a memoranda of agreement registered in the Ministry of Labour, and that has been dishonored. Yeah.
Ms. Roja, how would you describe last night's the barring of your members from the meeting? From
The what?
the political meeting last night. I know the police prevented some
Yes,
OWT.
and residents of Marabella.
Right.
Yes.
How would you view that? What
Well,
are your
that's
thoughts?
just they were talking to themselves. How could you have a meeting to inform the residents of Marabella and surrounding and environs, and deny those residents entry into the meeting because they are petrol workers? Something has to be wrong with that. And you bus people in and have a conversation with yourself. They are talking to themselves, and because it's a conversation with themselves, himself to himself, they will always be getting the wrong answer from themselves. And therefore it is a whole propaganda machinery. We are going to bear the facts to Trinidad and Tobago.
On
That's
Friday,
it.
can you give us a little more details with the rest of the
Well, we are calling on people to stay home, stay away from work, simply to send a message to the government that all is not right in this country today, and that if they don't check themselves and get onto a path of construction rather than destruction, the country will be plunged further into chaos.
The threat by Mr. Garcia that teachers can face disciplinary action.
But that's a threat. That's a threat. We would have dealt with that yesterday. Yes?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. So what? Oh, see. Yeah.
Where is my taking place? Where's Sergeant?
You could run, but you can't hide. Yes. The University of Woodford Square.
CCA2.
Morning. Amigo! Got you!
You're on news tonight.
Family.
All right, honey.
Hey.
So you take
Play yourself. The green machine.
That's better than this one. Then you want to go with it. That give and take. That give and take any solution. Roll it up. Roll it up. Roll it up. One day longer than we. Roll it up. Roll it up. Roll it up.
Some negative anyway.
Yeah, good.
Behind all the different things before
Pass it like an example.
They're allergic to reading.
Hello.
You buy evening news, a long time they used to buy evening news.
I think of the past. The news is by. I'll take the evidence.
Evening news,
Flat out.